How are you?
I'm good, Zach. How are you?
Good, good. I like that painting behind you.
Thank you. It's an Australian artist.
How's your day been?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes, I drove out to a friend's in Discovery Ridge. It's his birthday, so I gave him a sourdough for his birthday.
Oh, that's nice. Have you
Yes.
always loved cooking and baking and all those things?
I probably got more into it during COVID, documenting it certainly, but I've always cooked a bit, certainly since I
Yeah.
was ever I could step into the kitchen. Yes.
I feel like you're like a superwoman. You do so many things.
Oh, I don't try and do everything. Nothing's perfect, but have a lot of interests for sure.
Have you always been a curious individual in life?
I think so. I think I'm always open to trying something new and continuously learning.
Yeah. Not many people know this, but you are not actually from Calgary originally.
No, I'm not. I was actually born in Vietnam and adopted by Americans when I was very young, 6 months old. I grew up in the States, in Maryland, so just outside of Washington, D.C., near Baltimore. I went to college in New Jersey. And then after that, I went to West Africa after I graduated.
Mm.
So I lived there for a few years, met my future Australian husband, and we've lived all around the world. And now we're in Canada, in Calgary since 2013.
Yeah. How long did you live in Australia for?
All up together, about 10 years.
Wow.
We were in Melbourne. Before that, sort of in between, we lived in New York City.
Literally everywhere.
Everywhere.
What was one of your favorite places to live?
Oh, absolutely. I have to say Florence, Italy. That was a very special time.
Was it the
Yes.
food and the culture and all of that that you
I
really?
think it was all of those factors and the fact that I was 19 years old too. So it was a great time. We didn't really have that much to worry about except getting to classes and just experiencing the culture. However, then Africa would change my life, definitely. So every place has something special to me in my heart. And I'm very, very thankful for living in Calgary. It's given so much to us, and it's the perfect place to live, certainly right now and where we are in our lives.
Oh yeah. Have you made or decided Calgary's going to be home now for us for good?
Well, certainly as long as we can make it. Yes, we were planning only to stay for about 3 years. And then we actually got quite settled in, made a lot of connections and good friendships. So we're now here for as long, certainly as long as Clara finishes school. She's in grade 8, our 13-year-old daughter. So she has a few more years and then we'll see where she wants to go. I plan on just following her wherever she moves to.
That's a good mom.
Exactly.
Have you always had a passion for cooking, or did that just come over time?
I've always had a passion for food. So
Mm.
I'd love to have food experiences, try new things in terms of all different cultures of food. So it's a great way to experience the cultures that you live in and try something new. So I love to try and recreate a recipe if I've had it and I really enjoy it. I'll try all kinds of different and unique things. Like in Africa, we had all kinds of crazy foods. Like so if you ordered chicken in a restaurant and in the bush, they would actually source the chicken live there. So it
Wow.
was very unique. And then here in Calgary, I mean, we've had a great opportunity to be able to travel in Europe, very close to Europe compared to Australia. And we've been having some great experiences down in Napa Valley and into New York City, of course, when we lived there. And I love going to Asia. So we traveled a lot to Asia and had amazing Asian food when we lived in Australia.
Do you have a specific cuisine you enjoy, or is it all?
Oh, if I could eat something every day, it would probably be Japanese or Italian.
Oh, so good.
Aren't they the best?
Yeah. You're already making me hungry, so it's almost lunchtime. So I'm like, oh yeah.
I know. I have some sourdough on the go, so I might actually toast that up and have some for lunch.
Did you learn sourdough during the pandemic?
I did. Yes, it was actually a suggestion of my husband's to try and make it because we haven't found any that we really, really loved here yet. So I tried it, and after about a month, I finally understood what I was needing to learn to get it right, to get the right rise, and I've been able to use a flour that I found at the Italian Center. So they sell a 20-kilo bag for $16. It's a bread flour. And that's been perfect for me. I can make a loaf. Usually I start with 500 grams for a loaf. And now I'm down to doing 2 loaves in sort of each new day whenever I'm ready to do sourdough.
Right.
And I love it. Yeah, it's super fun. So I try new methods and techniques. I look at a lot of YouTube videos. And one thing I've learned from doing sourdough is you don't have to be so precious. It's not something that you follow an exact recipe for. So the measurements are important, but it's not something you have to do every minute or hour on the hour. You can let it go and be gentle with it, and it's quite forgiving.
Is there a way to keep it from getting dry so quickly?
Dry as in after you've sliced it? Oh, yes. Well, my little hack is we slice it fresh when we're ready to eat it. And then after the first day, I just do a lot of slices and then pop them in the freezer, pull out a slice when we're ready to cook it, and it's just as good as fresh.
Okay, I should try that. Yeah. You've got a lot of good hacks. I mean, the oven cleaning hack.
Oh, yes, I had so many friends who tried that out, and they said it was the quickest 15 minutes of their life, and now their oven door a glass door is completely clean. You can see through it even after years and years of not cleaning it. It works. Very simple. Just
I
hot
sent
water.
you a picture of mine and you said, hey, I think you're on your own.
Did you try it?
I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to try it. Yeah.
Oh, everyone I know who's tried it says it works.
There's nothing like a gross kitchen oven, like.
I know. I still need to clean the inside of my oven, but I've done the door, so that's the first step.
Do you turn on your oven for cleaning, like auto cleaning at times?
No, I haven't tried that. I actually saw my chef friend today, Chef Kenneth Titcomb, and he said those self-clean functions kind of can kill the enamel. So it's better if you have the patience to do the scrubbing rather than do the self-clean.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Yeah.
That's what chefs say. So I listen to them.
Well, we should listen to them on that one.
Exactly.
Not many people know this, but you are phenomenal with reels.
I've learned that too. I love doing reels. It's super fun.
That's how you kind of got my attention on Grubbed. I was like, what is this? This is so fun. Like your videos are so exciting, so positive, and especially right now where there's a lot of darkness in the world, it's nice to see that you're so positive and so upbeat, and it brings joy to people, I think.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's fun to make them. When I do make a reel, I try and keep in mind a beginning, middle, and end to tell a story. So I think it's important to have that in mind when you make any sort of content or video, that you show people the journey that you're doing. You don't have to video capture every step along the way, but lighting is quite important. One thing I do love about reels is the fact that you don't have to talk. So that cuts my editing down in half because I don't have to have a script or anything like that. I just do a quick film while I'm making something, nothing high production value or anything. But for the first part, I used to use my iPad. And then once I got the iPhone 12 Pro, I think it is.
How is it, by the way? Is it pretty good?
It's very good. I just use the front camera so I can see what I'm filming while I'm doing it. And it works great for me. Yeah, and they're fun to do.
Do you do everything on the app itself, or do you go and video everything and then cut and paste it into the app after?
I like to use the app only because then I can add music to it. Some people can do it in clips or other ways around it, but I just film it on my phone. It's really simple. I don't do anything complex about it. So just try and keep it to 15 to 30 seconds.
We need a Liz Middleton reel challenge.
Oh, I'm happy to help out. Yeah. Certainly. I've been teaching a lot of friends how to use reels. It's a fun way to express yourself and put stories out there.
It shows personality on somebody as well, and how they feel, and it cheers me up when I watch the reels. I'm like,
oh, thank you so much.
I almost have like a little happy dance when I watch them. I don't know why.
Yeah, I love hearing from friends and followers who say that it's inspired them to make a dish or cook. I also love getting out there and showing what is happening around our community and city. So to showcase local businesses and restaurants that I really, really love.
A lot of people get nervous about sharing themselves or who they are, or going on camera. Did you ever have that fear, and how did you overcome it?
Well, for a reel, I show only like 1 second of myself. But I'm not an overshare, so I don't put all of my deep feelings or any concerns on there. But at the same time, it's not really about me. It's always about the food I want to share or the businesses.
What have you found about local businesses in Calgary that have been impacted through the COVID?
I'm so proud of our businesses here in Calgary. They've done a great job pivoting in terms of how they provide services and what they can do to support local people and their own staff. So, unfortunately, it's a very hard time for a lot of restaurants and local businesses with the COVID restrictions. But I'm so proud of how a lot of businesses have been able to pivot. In the arts community where I serve on the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra Board, we've been able to pivot quite significantly and provide online performances that we are getting audiences from all around the world, and we don't charge for that. So
I love that.
audiences and individuals and families, it's completely accessible to everyone. So they can donate if they like, and we're getting very generous donations from that. But at the same time, we make it completely accessible. So I think you have to do that. You have to be flexible, pivot when you can, think about what you're good at. And if you're a restaurant and your key thing are dumplings, then just churn those out, be specialized, and make them accessible so everyone knows how to access them. I'm seeing some great small businesses pivot where they are doing online orders that they've never had an online service before, but they're deciding like, what can we do to just get out there and keep their business top of mind.
Is there a way for these businesses to start showcasing behind the scenes more or less, rather than always just saying, come out and support us, come out and support us? Because on social media, there's so much noise of that, and how can a small business, let's say restaurants, stand out from the rest in a way?
I agree. I think you're right. You need to think about different creative ways to showcase your business, and behind the scenes can work. So people love to hear a personal story, like, why is this chef putting together this dinner for Friday? Because it was influenced from something that they grew up with in their family, or they're inspired from a friend that have told them a story, or an ingredient that just happens to be super fresh and tasty right now. So telling a story behind the dish or the ingredient, I think it's really helpful, and people love to hear that.
Liz, not many people also know this, but you're actually a part of NAB, or were a part of NAB.
Of which?
NAB, the marketing.
Oh, yeah, in the National Australia Bank?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, do you know them?
Yeah. What were you doing? Like, you got to tell that story. That's pretty cool, because you have a vast background in marketing, and you've worked for some public companies.
Oh, thank you. Sure. So in Africa, I started working for Coca-Cola, doing media relations and marketing for them. And then I had a really interesting experience doing that. So I pursued that quite extensively. So then I worked for a PR agency in Washington, D.C. called Ketchum. And when I worked for them, it was for the Federal Emergency Management Agency and American Healthcare Association. Then I worked for an agency in Melbourne. Then I fell into doing work for a telco called Ericsson, where I was a media relations manager. So I've worked for a number of listed companies in different industries. And listed companies means you're on the stock exchange, so you have a very high level of communications that you need to maintain. So I would write speeches and press releases and work closely with all the executives. I've worked for a wine industry company called Treasury Wine Estates. That was a great deal of fun, and that job took me actually here to Calgary, where I would host California and Australian winemakers when they would come here to Canada. So my background is over about 20 years in corporate marketing, corporate affairs, and public relations.
Did you fall in love with wine after that, or have you always loved,
I've always loved wine. I love the whole winemaking process. It's very romantic, of course. And from the grapes grown on the vine, the way they look, all the way to when they're pressed and aged into a bottle, it's such a beautiful experience. And it goes closely with food. So that experience is very special. I definitely enjoyed that. One of my favorite corporate jobs.
It'd be pretty cool to go to Italy and go to those vineyards that have been around for generations, and some are not gonna open again or whatnot, but they have a history there. You know.
They do. I love that. In the old world wines, particularly in Spain, Portugal, France, and Italy, they have a lot of history, and it's a wonderful experience to be able to go and talk to their winemakers who are generations old and feel their passion about why they make wine forever.
Do you think once the restrictions open up and or let loose, you're gonna look at bringing that up here again in Canada?
Oh, I think I'll always travel, certainly. So I want to share those experiences in places that I recommend people going to. I'm always getting asked, what restaurants should we go to now? And where should we stay when we go to Paris? So I love sharing those experiences, and I definitely will.
Do you have a list of some of your favorite restaurants in our city?
Oh, that's a tough one.
You're like, don't
Well,
put me in that spot.
that's okay. No, I do have a few that I always go to.
Yeah.
I'm a member at Ranchman's Club. We love the food there. It's very, very special and old world European. I'm always going to 10 Foot Henry. I think that's great. For Japanese, we love Shokunin and Nupo. For and actually, one of my favorite cafes, I think you know this one too, is Z Crew. Love Zach over at Z Crew, and in Australia we call that Z Crew Cafe. But their food is phenomenal. It's excellent. I always recommend that one. Rouge, Alloy, the River Cafe, all very special. If you want to travel, I love
You lived in Australia for a while.
Oh yeah, we were there for 10 years in Melbourne. They have an incredible food scene. So very influenced by the Asian cultures. So we would have food there from all over the world, but particularly the Asian cultures have excellent presence in restaurants.
I used to go to Z Crew or Z Crew and get a flat white.
Yes, yeah, that's very Aussie.
Yeah,
my husband's Australian, so he loves to get a flat white. I can't quite figure out the difference between a flat white and a latte, but they're both good.
I'm with you on that. I'm like, just want to be fit in right now with the culture, so I'll say flat white.
I know, exactly.
How does people in the Philharmonic Orchestra right now play together with COVID? Or are they all 6 feet apart?
Yes. So currently the restrictions don't allow anyone gathering together at all. But previously the restrictions did allow a small group. So whenever the restrictions were, we just adhered to that for those recordings. But they were always typically 6 feet apart.
Could this ever happen where you have a conductor on Zoom going and setting everybody up, and then you've got everyone that plays the instruments all on Zoom as well? Can it be aligned, or is it tough?
Yes, they have done that, but they're always pre-recorded. So they often do that because of the sound mixing, and the quality of the sound has to be pre-recorded, and then they can bring in the different levels as they need be. But yes, they do pre-record the conductor and then the musicians play to that method.
What is that art behind you? It's beautiful. I just keep looking.
Yes, it's a piece by an Australian artist. Unfortunately, he's passed away. His name is David Larwell. So there's a lot of influence from Aboriginal artists in history in that painting. Yes, we bought it in Brisbane.
Wow.
Yeah, so art is actually a passion of ours too, in our family. So we've acquired some pieces here locally in Calgary in Canada. We have a beautiful sculpture by Joe Fafard in our front hall. Yes. And we have a Mark Dicey in our living room that we actually acquired at the Banff Midsummer Ball weekend auction. So we definitely support the arts. It's very important to us. My husband sits on the Glenbow Museum board.
Oh, does he? Okay. Is he a big fan of the history as well in Calgary?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's very involved in the community here in Calgary too.
Have you, like the two of you, always been involved in community? I mean, you just moved here in 2013, but you guys are so vested in making where you live a better place than when you had come.
Oh, thank you. We've been involved, but not probably at this level. It just happened to work out in terms of where we were in our careers and other people that we were mixing and be friends with. So I think it is important to get back to the community and be involved because it actually makes you feel more a part of it, increases your bubble. And if you're giving back and you're providing a better future, not only for the people around you currently, but the future generation. So we want to pave the way so our daughter has a great community to grow up in and live in.
Do you feel like 2021 is going to be a positive year despite everything that's
Yes,
going on in the world?
I hope so. I think we all have to have an optimistic point of view. Otherwise, we wouldn't advance at all.
No.
So we have to have some dreams and think about what we can do to pivot, like I said, and just be positive as much as we can and help each other out in our communities.
What are you doing these days, Liz, in terms of your career? Is there any shifts online? There's a lot of things going online, like in your world. Are you seeing more of that?
Oh, sure. So I've transitioned out of the normal corporate life and I serve on the two boards at the moment. So in the past, I also served on the Dress for Success Calgary board, where I managed the
Yes.
marketing and social media. And now I continue to serve on the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra board. I serve on the governance committee. I'm a co-chair of the capital campaign. And I also serve on the committee for a fundraising event, which is called Cork and Canvas. So you
Ooh,
might
that's
hear some
fun.
news coming out on that. We have a silent auction coming up. And then the third board I just joined is called the Famous Five Foundation. And that's an incredible organization where we support the history and the legacy of the incredible five women who managed to get the vote for women here in Canada. So I actually do the marketing and social media for that. Those are all volunteer positions. They're unpaid, but it's very important for me to provide my background and expertise where I can, and I really enjoy it.
Like I said, you are a superwoman.
Oh, I still have to do laundry and things like that. So no, I'm not super, but if I can live and give an example to others and how they can give back to the community, I'm very inspired by that.
I might be wrong on this one, but I think one of the famous five is Flores. Flores?
There are quite a few, and one of them, Nellie Mae, I think you should look her up. She's incredible. So she actually was the first woman elected. Yes, and so that when that vote was assumed for women to be able to be notified as actually persons, recognized as people, to be able to vote, it changed the course of history. And while there's still work to do, it certainly helped pave the way for a lot of politicians and female leaders today. Yes, including Very Honorable Kim Campbell, who's going to be speaking at an event on January 22nd for the Famous Five Foundation.
So who were the famous five?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I just joined. I need
I know, and there's a lot of
ask
names.
my 13-year-old daughter.
I'll have to look it up. I'll have to check it out after.
Yes, let me actually provide you the history of the Famous Five in a note so we can share that as a link. It would be great that we can share that with all your listeners.
No, that would be wonderful. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I also appreciate your time today, Liz. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yes. Yeah, and I love just sharing sort of what's happening in the community, and I hope people are enjoying my food recipes too.